The night before graduation, I couldn't sleep. The fear of future, the doubts about myself, I had no idea what to do with myself after graduation, plus the snoring from my roomies. Yeah, it was a typical Chinese 4-people unit dorm with bunk beds. So altogether, they kept me up the whole night. Did I find an answer? Hell no, I'd probably be better off not thinking about it all and getting a good night's sleep instead, because years later, I found myself pondering over the same thing when I was about to graduate from my grad school. But this time, no roommates, no snoring, no bunk beds, just me and the flickering streetlights in Australia. That's kind of sad. But that night, I kind of reached some answers. I started to realize I've always thought I've been educating myself from going through, elementary school to grad school, but really that's not education at all. That's just schooling, and that's where the fear comes from. Because I was about to leave schools, I was about to have to think and learn, educate myself. I was about to have figured out everything on my own, but that school haven't yet taught me, or I haven't taught myself yet, and that's scary. Hey, my name's Kevin. This is a mini-series where I share my real experience and thoughts on education. Education, the thing that makes you smarter, the thing that gets your job, the thing that sets you on the right path of life. Education, the thing that no one questions. After all, it's education. What can go wrong, right? But it turns out everything can go wrong, including education. And here's my experience. So, as education is approaching, I was having a difficult time. I was pretty scared, mostly because I felt my options were pretty limited. I majored in international business and trade. Fancy, right? I know. Yeah, but what can I do with that? Well, anything related to business, right? But that's also very general. That means anybody can do it. Plus, you don't have to major in international business and trade to do it. Accounting, well, there are people majoring in accounting. Marketing, there are people specializing in marketing. I can't really compete with them. And I felt like I basically spent 4 years majored in a little bit of everything, which means nothing. But if I'm being honest, I really majored in basketball because I probably spent more time on the basketball court than any lecture halls or libraries. So that one was really on me. I did not do the one thing that I was supposed to do in those 4 years. That's a study. But not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun playing basketball. But fast forward to grad school, this time I decided not to make the same mistake that I made before. That's listening to my parents, picking up something that's popular but did not excite me at all. So I decided to go with my passion, language education. That's great, that's fantastic, right? And I did do very, very well this time. I graduated with a 6.5 GPA. So I became this so-called, quote-unquote, specialist or expert. That's fantastic, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of great for society as a whole, but not for individuals like me, because again, my options were very limited. I mean, I could become an English teacher, or an English teacher, or an English teacher. I mean, basically, that's my only option. I felt like a cog on a wheel. Specialization made me an expert, but in a very narrow area. Beyond my major, my profession, I didn't really know much. And that put me in a very dangerous situation because it means I was very replaceable through competitions between many others with similar skills. If I choose to stay in Australia, let me tell you a secret, that means everybody. Because everybody speaks English in Australia. So if I were able to give a piece of advice to my younger self, I'd probably tell him, don't limit yourself, don't trap yourself to the major that you pick. Yeah, you kind of have to pick one, but nobody says you can only learn the thing that you majored in. You have the choice to extend to what you want to learn. Also, if you can, pick up something that you can really do on your own. I mean, literature, history, language acquisition, economy, psychology, those things you can really do on your own. You don't have to go to a school. So in this sense, education is totally obsolete. And last but not least, don't stop learning after graduating. You gotta push it. You gotta keep on advancing yourself. I learned the hard way. Well, I here means you, because I'm talking to my younger self. Is that confusing? I hope that makes sense. So I learned the hard way. You spent over a decade wasting time in school, and the true learning actually only took place after you graduated from school and started reading and learning for yourself. I hated reading before. The only books that I read were probably textbooks and compulsory reading assigned by my professors. Other than that, really not much. But now I read pretty much everything, ranging from psychology to cognitive science to language acquisition to creativity, the list goes on. Believe it or not, I'm reading this book from the 60s called The Art of Scientific Investigation. I mean, I have zero interest in becoming a scientist. Even if I want to, it's probably too late for me to change my career path right now. But I feel it's relevant. It's helping me to think more logically and out of the box more creatively. I really feel I'm learning something that's meaningful and helpful to me. But before, when I got bored, the last thing I would do was to pick up a book. I would much rather go out and play basketball, watching stupid TV shows, feeding myself with chips, putting on weight, whatever. Basically, I would do anything but reading. And one of the reasons being, schools have successfully associated reading and books with some very negative adjectives, such as intimidating, boring, something very unpleasant, and that negative feeling lingers around, which made me hate reading and books altogether. But that night I mentioned earlier, it kind of woke me up. It served as like a wake-up call for me. Afterwards, I started to pick up books and started reading. Not gonna lie, the beginning was hard. It was extremely hard. I could barely focus for longer than 20 minutes, and it never failed to make me fall asleep. My sleeping quality had never been better, so love that. Anyway, but I kept on pushing through, and gradually I started to discover topics I loved, books I loved, so I kept on reading and reading more and more. And sometimes I would even read up till 3 o'clock. That's not exaggerating, 100% true. It's not all big, thick, thought-provoking books as you may think. Well, sometimes they are. I'm actually pretty regretful about that because I was trying to get some good night's sleep, and reading those kind of books made me think like hard. It didn't really help with that specific goal. Probably shouldn't do that. But other times, they were just comic books. Big shout out to Walking Dead. Once I had the home run reading experience in books, I couldn't stop. I was drawn to it. I couldn't have enough. And now I have to charge my Kindle once every week. If you understand what I'm talking about, you know how crazy that is. So reading really is the third best thing ever happened to me in my life. Why third? I've got a theory. I believe there's something that's even better than reading happened to me in my life. I just missed to notice. So that's one. I also believe there's gonna be something that'll be even better than reading will happen in the future. So that's another one. And I have very strong feeling this thing is going to have something to do with reading. Yeah, very, very strong feeling. So my takeaway is don't trap yourself by schools. You gotta learn and read for yourself. Maybe it doesn't have to be reading, but you gotta learn how the world works, how to live a meaningful life through education. And don't ever mistake education with schooling. Going to schools and unis is not the same thing as learning and education. They are completely two different things, completely different. Well, my name is Kevin. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a mini-series where I share my real experience and thoughts on education. If you are interested, consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.